What up, ladies and germs of the internet? Hello, we're back. Welcome. We are Tom, we are Lucas, and this is Game Chat. How we doing, sir?
We are coming to the end of a very difficult week, and happy it's done. Did a lot of schooling and not a lot of gaming, unfortunately. But hopefully, time management can be better this week, and I can actually get some gaming in since we are a gaming podcast.
That's fair. That's fair. I understand gaming can be a hard thing to fit in when life is like coming at you like hard and fast, but that's why we have this. So even when we don't get the time to game, we get the time to talk about it and revel in it through that. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
So today, folks, we're gonna be jumping in, talking about a couple of different things. We've been killing it with the interviews lately, but for now, we're just gonna have a classic kind of boys only episode. Just gonna gab a little bit and talk about some news stories, and then segue into our topic off of that. So, what's been going on, Lucas? Have you gotten the chance to see anything in the gaming sphere that's been happening lately?
Well, there is the one big one, which is kind of the tie-in for our topic. Google Stadia is dead, everybody. It's final nail was put in the coffin earlier this past week. They're going to refund everybody. They didn't let like major developers know ahead of time. They found out along with the rest of us apparently. So that's always nice to not get a heads up on something that you've worked on the last 2 years or so. But that's where we're at. People could see this coming back when it launched in 2019. As you said before we started recording, the world wasn't ready for something like that.
Yeah, it's really wacky how they just kind of came out of nowhere with this and just like gave nobody any notice whatsoever. They literally like developers were finding out about it in tweets and whatnot. Specifically, I have one quote says on Kotaku, Tangle Tower was due to launch on Stadia in 2 days' time, and this article was the first I heard about it shutting down. That comes from Tom Vian, one half of the Snipperclips game studio, SFB Games. He tweeted it out a couple days ago, and then a bunch of other game developers were kind of in the same boat. One, you know, it's really sad to see. It's really unfortunate that these things come to happen and come to pass, and more often than not, they seem to not really have a good way to announce it out to the public and sort of tell people in advance. And they kind of fumble the bag like this more often than not. So it's sad to see that these developers aren't going to get the chance to put their games out on the platform. Hopefully, they get refunded.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna refund your paying customers, hopefully you refund the people that have been putting in all this time and effort into trying to make games for your service.
Yeah, to be honest, I am surprised Stadia even technically lasted this long. While I feel like it was a great idea, Google clearly just was not ready for that smoke. And I don't know, streaming games, I feel like it's an inevitability, but I feel like a lot more people are going to have a more stable internet connection and more accessibility to that, as you can definitely vouch for as someone who has consistently had technical difficulties on this show.
Stadia would definitely not have worked for me. Because ironically enough, I rarely, if ever, have issues when gaming on console. If I'm just trying to be in a Zoom call on my computer, that causes problems. So, yeah, definitely not in the market for Stadia during its lifespan.
Stadia is like many other pieces of hardware that have blundered throughout the years. It just adds to another spot on the list of a long list of them. Did you see this exhibit of historical game failures that they had a couple years back outside of GDC?
No,
Oh, so get this. They literally at Games GDC Games Developers Conference in Germany, they had an exhibit of historical failures outside, and it included some of the most major and high-profile gaming failures throughout the years, including Atari the ET game that came out for Atari that they tried to get, like, they couldn't sell copies of that game, so infamously they had to literally bury all of these copies of ET in a landfill. Also up there was the infamous Power Glove for the NES, you know, the crazy 80s one where you slip it on and there's like a gamepad on your wrist. And then also the Sega Dreamcast, which I'll get into a little bit later, but Sega Dreamcast technically was considered a failure, even though it was a wonderful piece of gaming hardware. But the real kicker with this exhibit is that they had another sign like next to it, that just a fourth card that read coming soon. And you know, now just over 3 years later, that's where Stadia is going, right in that next slot in the exhibit.
They knew.
Yeah, they knew ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, Stadia had like, one of the worst launches for like a new product ever.
I think they were jumping ahead of the curve and didn't have the power and support to really make it feasible streaming games. But I don't know. Other services have tried it for sure, but I just don't think it's there yet, and they didn't have the ability to get there with it.
A lot of false advertising too. Like I think they overhyped it, which I guess you're supposed to do when something is new to the marketplace. But if you're constantly missing the bar that you're setting yourself, people are going to be rightfully pissed off and disappointed. I think one of the funnier ones was they made a whole big like, oh, any device that connects to the internet like Google Stadia, you can do it. But of course, a mobile phone that's not a Google Pixel doesn't work on Google Stadia, which most people don't have a Google Pixel.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
a
would think that they would mention
matter.
that, but they did not.
It is crazy how they like made all these bad decisions and nobody was able to think about it beforehand and sort of like, where is the person sitting in the room that like says this is a bad idea? You know what I'm saying? Like, why don't they have anybody like
Maybe they
that?
just had a bunch of yes men and women, and just nobody had the cojones to to speak up. I think they also had a bunch of like devs leave like right before or around the time of the launch, which I think was also not helpful. But they left probably because they saw the writing on the wall.
That's kind of already a bad sign when you see like you see those headlines of just like these people always leave, you know, especially like with movies when directors change and they do reshoots and all that. You're like, "Oh, okay. I see what's going to happen here."
Yeah.
It's clairvoyant in a way, you know. Going back to that article, you know, Stadia just is joining in like the long prolific list of like weird video game hardware that kind of has not really done well over the time. That also seems to have been created by a board of yes men and crazy zany creators who are like, "Oh, this is a good idea. People will use this." And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, folks. We're going to jump in a little bit, chat about some different examples of gaming hardware throughout the years that has been considered a commercial failure. And there is quite a crazy list of them, if I do say so myself. As I was saying earlier, the ET game, they literally had to bury the bodies, so to speak, and they dug those all into a landfill. There's a long list of them. Did you see any in particular that caught your interest?
I'm gonna go with one that probably isn't on any list, and that is have you heard of the Soulja Boy gaming console?
Yes, I have.
This was about a year before Stadia back in 2018, and basically Soulja Boy wanted to get into the gaming market. I still don't know why he didn't call it the Soulja Boy as like the name instead of like the Soulja Boy gaming console or handheld or whatever it was. But basically, he got into some legal trouble because he was selling. I think that it was something you could buy on like Amazon for like $10, and he was selling it for like $100 with like a rebrand, saying all of these games were on it. So Yeah, that's not going to be on any list anywhere because that wasn't really a real console launch, but still definitely a failure.
I don't understand. Like, were any games actually on it?
I think it came with games, but it was like, it came in 2018. It came out with stuff that was like already like decades old. He didn't have any new titles. Like he's not developing games. He just sold the console.
It looks kind of like a Wii U almost. Oh, could you hook up PlayStation controllers to it?
Trying to see. Oh, I guess he released uh another one. I think he just pops one out every like year.
He does make some weird products, Soulja Boy. I have seen quite like a bit of his different endeavors. Apparently, like when you turn it on, it says you. The third model Soja game Fuse would have been more expensive, costing $640. Systems were grossly overpriced, some of them being over 3 times the asking price of regular Chinese knockoffs.
Yeah, it was basically a knockoff of a knockoff sold for like premium pricing.
The site said the console had 800 games ready and played Switch, PlayStation, Vita, Neo Geo, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games. But it did not have any Nintendo or PlayStation ROMs on it, but pirated Nintendo and Sega games and many other, apparently it was very much like a lot of different knockoff consoles. Soulja Boy even lied about the games being licensed in his interview on The Breakfast Club.
Yes, they were definitely not licensed. Basically, just upsetting a bunch of major gaming developers. You're not going to win that battle when it goes to court.
Another one I would like to talk about that I mentioned earlier that was also considered a large commercial failure was the Sega Dreamcast. Now, the Sega Dreamcast originally released in like '98, and it was the last console developed by Sega, and it was kind of competing with like the PlayStation 1 and like the N64. It did not sell a lot of units and technically killed Sega's space in the console game, which is pretty sad because I had a Sega Dreamcast growing up, and it was one of, if not my favorite consoles to play as a young child. It's where I developed my love for the Blue Blur, Sonic the Hedgehog himself. Lots of good games on there. Both of the Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 games originally on the Dreamcast, as well as Sonic Shuffle, Crazy Taxi. It was like there was like a fishing game I played, like Pro Bass Fishing, Vector Man. Lots of great titles on the Sega Dreamcast. And one of the best features of it, Lucas, it had this like memory card that you put into the controller. And the memory card had like a little LCD screen that showed different like pixel like animations and like things on it based on what game you were playing. Like if you were playing Sonic Adventure 2 and you were playing a Tails level, you'd have a picture of Tails like thumbs up in you on the screen. It was sick. It's sad that the Sega Dreamcast was considered a failure because there's quite a lot of hot games on the Sega Dreamcast. You could also connect it to the internet, play music on it. It was crazy.
You could play music on it? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, bro. You could like load up MP3s and stuff and connect it to the internet.
I think the Dreamcast was more a failure because of like Sega's previous consoles also like not doing well.
I mean,
So it
like,
kind of got lumped
yeah,
in with the other failures of Sega when it came to developing hardware.
for
So
sure.
that's not the Dreamcast fault. That's more the fault of like the Sega Saturn and other Sega hardware.
It had to compete with like the PS2 and the 360 as well, because those like got dropped around like 2000, 2001. And that's kind of where 2001 they discontinued it. So it only really lasted like a little over 2 years.
Yeah, the PS2 really like wiped the floor with it.
Oh, I remember now. I seen this article. The memory card was called the Visual Memory Unit, the VMU. I had a green one. It was awesome. They also had this game, I'm sorry to drone on about the Sega Dreamcast, ladies and gentlemen, but as you can see, I'm a big fan. They had a game called Sonic Shuffle, and it was a Mario Party ripoff, but with all the Sonic characters. They had like a story built in, and it was like voice acted and everything. Like, and my mom, I remember, did not like when me and my brother played that game because it like had a heavy gambling theme. You know, they were at like the casino levels in Sonic,
Mm,
and so me and my brother Trevor had to like play that game on the low low because Eileen did not like us gambling.
that's that's fair. Always a concern when youngins are playing games with this improper themes, I guess you could say.
Hey man, I let me check this out. I bet this game is rated like E10 plus. Rated E for everyone. ESRB right on it. Yeah. Sometime we should get an emulator. Or just I bet the Sega Dreamcast is like in the attic at my mom's house. We could go find it and play some Sonic Shuffle.
I guess yeah, I'd give that a go since we're now older and can gamble if we choose to.
We can put money on our game of Sonic Shuffle. Have you ever bet on Mario Party? This is even crazier.
I have never bet on Mario Party because Mario Party is not a skill-based game.
Mario Party is bullshit.
There's so much like shit that like you have no control over.
Oh my god. Did you see any other crazy console hardware failures?
Another one that like I was surprised at the time. Like now it's been a bunch of years that it's been irrelevant, but the Wii U really having a lifespan of like 3 years, surprised me because back when that came out, it was supposed to be like the next big thing for Nintendo, and it just did not catch on. And then shortly after, they're like, "Okay, here's the Switch, and this is way better."
I mean, you can't shit on the Wii U. The Wii U had some great games. The Wii U, if anything, was a victim of poor marketing and old moms buying more copies of the Wii instead of the Wii U.
Mm.
Like, it was hard to tell. Nobody really knew like what the Wii U was. Mom's going to buy Jimmy a new game console for Christmas. She's going to walk in and she's going to be like, "I want the Wii." Not the Wii U, because nobody knows what the Wii U was. Even though it had Smash 4, which was spectacular.
Mm.
Not to mention a HD re-release of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why it didn't catch on more. I guess credit to Nintendo for like moving like off of it pretty quick.
I think it was definitely some poor marketing. Unlike another Nintendo console that failed spectacularly, you ever heard of the Virtual Boy?
Yes, wasn't this something that basically required you to like have 3D glasses on at all times?
Do you remember viewfinders? Like the little toys you would hold up to your face and you would pull the lever and see different images?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
basically a viewfinder on a stand, like a heavier viewfinder on a stand, that you put the stand on the table and like lean in. There's no strap on this thing. It's a headset, but it's like you just lean in against the glasses and there's a controller connected to it. In 95, it was marketed as the first console capable of doing like stereoscopic like 3D graphics, right? But it's like, it's a VR. It was the first VR like headset, It was actually the technology that backed it up was called the scanned linear array. And fun fact, it was developed by Reflection Technology, RTI, which is a Massachusetts based company. So shout out Massachusetts. But it did not go well for the Virtual Boy, as you can imagine. It was very, very hard to use. Failed for several reasons, including its high price, the discomfort caused by play, and, quote, what was widely judged to have been a poorly handled marketing campaign. You had to, like, you could play tennis on it and stuff. The LA Times described the gameplay as being at once familiar but also very strange.
It also is saying here that it was almost $200, which
Back
for
in
back
like
back then is
95.
pretty pricey.
That's hefty. That's
Yeah.
hefty. Like, especially when you could just like go buy a Game Boy, you know?
Yeah, not have like neck problems.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy actually, but I'm reading here that in 2016 there was an interview with somebody at Nintendo who said they were or 2017 actually. They said the company was like studying VR and is going to try to figure out how to somehow get it into the Nintendo Switch. Oh, well, I guess they did. Did you ever see the Nintendo Labo?
Labo, like Labo?
Labo.
No.
Oh, dude, this stuff was crazy. The Nintendo Labo was like you would buy a Switch game, right? It would come you would get the game and then also it would come with a box where you just fucking built like cardboard like instruments and different tools and things that you would just like slot your Switch and your Joy Cons into, and you could play different games. Like you could build the little bug, and you slip your Joy Cons onto it, and then I think the little bug like moves on the floor using the vibrations of the Joy Cons. Like there's a
But
piano.
so you're I don't understand though.
One of the VR ones they have, right? It's kind of fucking crazy. I think you need like four Joy Cons for it, but they literally have. Do you need two switches for it too? Wait, no
That
way.
what is this something you're just supposed to like do with a friend
No,
that
no, no,
also
no.
has one?
So there's one that they send you a fucking. Wait, how is this VR? You're not putting your fucking face into anything. Well, one of them, Lucas, is literally like a robot kit, right? They send you a big ass box and you build a giant backpack on that you slip onto your back, and they give you like a headset that you put Joy Cons into, and you basically are like playing as a giant robot in like a robot fighting boxing game. Think like Wii boxing, but with like 19 added steps, and there's like strings attached to the backpack and the handles, so you like feel resistance.
I'm looking at this right now, and yeah, I don't
I don't
like
understand how this has VR though.
the all these extra shit doesn't add anything to like.
Oh no, here we go. There is also a VR kit. It's the fourth kit is the VR kit. VR expansion kit. I guess you put the Switch like in your fucking face, maybe? I think. Is that how that works? Yeah, I think you so they give you like you build more of these creations and you slide the Switch into them, and you basically utilize the Switch and a lens to play VR games. It essentially like there's different ones you can do. Like one's a blaster where you like you build a giant gun and you slide the VR into your face. You like shoot aliens with the giant cardboard blaster.
I don't understand why everything is cardboard and like you have to make it
That's the gimmick,
yourself.
bro. Because it's
That's
the
but
lab.
I guess, but if I don't want to like have to like physically make something
Well,
to use it.
neither did anyone else, because
Like just send it to me done.
this also did not like do well.
Yeah, I could see why. I just saw some footage from that robot kit, and it's like you have to put on all this cardboard material.
I mean, it did okay. It like in Japan it did a lot better, but it definitely wasn't like it was a good idea in theory because it's like trying to teach kids like building and engineering, and it's like you build it with your parents and then you play the video games and you do the VR shooty shoots. But Nintendo's always doing this crazy stuff. Nintendo has like quite a lot of like weird hardware that they've built over the years that is just like completely out there.
Yeah, they actually show up a lot of times on like looking at these like failed gaming console lists. They're up here a lot, but it's like they're also so successful as a company that they can afford to have like a bunch of flops and
Oh
not go
my god.
bankrupt.
That's the Nintendo is like the this is just going to turn into a roast Nintendo podcast today. Nintendo is like so guilty of doing like crazy shit like this. Like the Power Glove. Like what is that? Like what even is that for?
Oh, is that Nintendo too?
Yeah.
The
Well,
Power
it was
Glove?
made by Mattel, like the toy company, but it's like for
Nintendo
the
products.
yeah, it's for the NES or the SNES. Power Glove, released in 1989, officially licensed product. Nintendo was not involved in the design or released.
They say that now.
So they just paid the company and was like, here you go. Additional development was accomplished through the efforts of Thomas G. Zimmerman and Jaron Lanier, a virtual reality pioneer responsible for co-developing and commercializing the Data Glove, who had made a failed attempt at a similar design for Nintendo earlier. Yeah, Nintendo was just like big in the 80s for being like, let's do VR. Two
Uh-huh.
two games were released with specific features for the Power Glove. Super Glove Ball, which was a faux 3D puzzle maze game, and Bad Street Brawler, where you probably both games are playable with the standard NES controller, but include moves that can only be used with the glove. Since no Power Glove specific games ever retailed in Japan, the Power Glove was sold only as an alternative controller.
Hey, it sold nearly 1 million units. That's the thing. They Nintendo must they make like enough money back off of this stuff that it's like, all right, we can now use this to like go try something else.
What other Nintendo ones have you seen out in particular that you thought were really really out there?
Um, the 64 double D.
Oh, the disc drive. Yeah, that
Yeah.
one's just weird. I don't even really like who's that for, you know?
You could say that for a lot of these Nintendo products. Who is the fucking assemble a cardboard thing so you can play a video game for? Like, I just want to play the game. I'm not trying to. I don't want to do a puzzle.
But that's the fun part, man.
No, the game is supposed to be the fun part. The cardboard thing is supposed to take like 20 minutes.
Listen, I feel like a lot of these like weird like attempts at doing crazy things, like that's what makes Nintendo stand out, you know? They have a legacy of doing this type of thing.
Well, it also helps that they have incredibly successful games and iconic characters
I said it
to,
last
to fall
episode.
back on.
I said it last episode to Nathan, you know, like Nintendo could put shit on a stick and people would buy it. Like the fact that they sold like and I'm so mad that I bought this, but I'm so cuz I love it, but they put 3 emulations of 3D Mario games on a cartridge and sold it limited time for like I think it was $60 and I still bought it. You can't buy that game anymore. Super Mario 3D All-Stars.
What was your purchase worth it?
I played through I got like 89 stars shines in Super Mario Sunshine and maybe 6 stars in Mario 64 and didn't even touch Galaxy. So, I'd say it was worth. I still occasionally pick up Super Mario Sunshine. Great game.
The original?
They're ports on the Switch of the game. They're not even like upresed or anything. It's just here are 3 ROMs of these old games. Like playing Mario 64 in the Switch dock on my big TV is wacky. There are a lot more out there, you know, that are kind of just like, oh, this was obviously not going to go anywhere. Some of them are just like random, like, oh, okay, this is made by a random ass company that no one's ever heard of. Like, of course, it's not going to go anywhere. They tried to do one that was like a. Did you see the N gauge?
Yes, it was a like smartphone pre-smartphone.
It was a Nokia. Yeah, it was a cell phone with that was also a handheld. Like it looked like a Game Boy Advance.
Hmm.
The system was
And yeah,
quote mocked for its taco-like design.
people just weren't ready for something like that.
The sales were so poor that like within a week of its release, they slashed the price by $100.
By $100.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's not good.
They even tried to like redesign it. Oh, and the fact that its cell phone feature required to use it like a cell phone, you had to hold it sideways. So it looks like you're just talking to a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, like the design is, yeah, that's how it's labeled. Like if you're trying to text somebody, like all the
Oh my
letters
god.
are sideways. So yeah, you have to hold it like a game like a Game Boy.
The weird part is that wasn't even like that crazy old. They put that out in 2003. That's like the time of like the DS and like the PSP. Like that was like even after the Game Boy Advance, which was bizarre to me.
It just came out a few years too early. Like if it had come out kind of right when smartphones were kicking off, if they would have had a like the mobile gaming beat for I mean, I don't know how well it functioned as a phone, though, to be honest. You're probably still better off getting a real phone that's a gaming device second.
Like what even was on it? Like what could you even play on this fucking cell phone?
I mean, it's gonna be like very basic mobile games.
Oh, that's not true. Super Monkey Ball is on there.
Well, yeah, but how does it play like Super Monkey Ball?
I don't know.
Or
It's
does it play like a
to be fair, this is so out of the 58 titles they have on the N gauge, there's like two, four, six. There's eight of these titles that are the red Wikipedia links where there's no information on them, and Super Monkey Ball is one of those.
I guess the world will never know.
They had some cool titles. They had Crash Nitro Kart. They had Call of Duty on there too.
I
Listen, man. Some like all I'm saying for content, we can just like find these wonderful pieces of hardware and just try to use them and review them.
and review them.
Like, wouldn't it be fun to like somehow call each other on the N gauge? we
uh
we can have like a live N gauge phone conversation on the show. That'll get millions of views.
like just reading about how it worked. It's if you wanted to insert a game, you had to like take off the cover and remove the battery because the game slot was like under the battery. So you'd have to insert the game you want to play and then like put the battery back in.
Were they like
You had to like disassemble it basically.
Were they like, oh, I'm looking at this right now. Holy shit. You have to like take out the circuit board and everything.
Yeah. It has like 6 layers
Oh my
that
god.
and then you get to the battery at the
You have
bottom.
to like take out the screen and shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. What were they like SD cartridges? Like is that what I'm seeing? They look like little memory cards.
It seems like this was supposed to like be a phone first and then a gaming console like second. Otherwise, I don't know why. Like maybe they're just like, oh yeah, you're not going to switch games that frequently. Like it's a phone, and then if you want to play a game, like you can. But yeah, in order to like talk or type or anything, you have to hold it like a game
It was $300.
for
7 days.
for 7 days, and then they cut it down to 200
In the first
in
weeks
the
of
early
availability
2000s.
in the US, it was outsold by the Game Boy Advance 100 to 1.
100 to 1. That's
Within 17 days of the release, GameStop and EB Games began offering them for $100 off. Damn, this kind of was like the nail in the coffin for Nokia too. Like, cause after that, like the iPhones and like the Samsung smartphones and the Androids started coming out, and then, you know, like Nokia didn't make any of those.
What do they do now?
Nokia?
Yeah.
I don't know. Make cell
Like they're
phones?
not they're still a company.
Yeah, they definitely like still make like cell phones and stuff. Like Nokia G100, the G series and the X series.
Oh,
They just
okay.
look
Looks
like
like
generic ass
yeah,
smartphones, to be
Microsoft bought them
honest.
out.
Oh, Microsoft bought them?
I guess they partnered with Microsoft and then Microsoft bought its mobile phone business.
That makes sense. RIP Nokia. Good try though with the cell phone Game Boy.
Cell phone Game Boy. I think the taco phone is like such a funny.
I just like I wonder if that's what people would call it back in the day. I don't remember ever seeing any of these. I had a Game Boy like a normal person.
I mean, this just yeah, this look it just looks like it's too confusing. It's like the left half is a game and the right half is a phone. And there's just a screen in the center.
There looks like there's a music button. There's a music button and a music note and a radio button. Like I wonder what the difference between those are.
Yeah, I don't think it knew what it wanted to be.
I bet 7 and 5 are like the A. Oh, that's probably so confusing too, because I bet the major like based on what the design looks like of this thing, um, I bet most of the phone buttons don't actually do anything like in the games.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's no way. That's way too many like different inputs.
It looks like 5 and 7 are probably the only ones that do anything.
Yeah, it's probably and then you have the like the D-pad.
Do you think you had to like get a screwdriver to like pop it off and stuff?
I I would hope not. I don't know what they were thinking with you
Just
have to
on
disassemble the entire thing if you want
just
to put a game cartridge in.
just every time you leave the house, you're like video game, phone, wallet, keys. Oh, let me bring my screwdriver to make sure. If I
Make sure I
get
can play a new game in
if
my
I get bored of
downtime.
Call of Duty, I want to switch to Crash Nitro Kart.
Yeah,
Let me
I
just
think
disassemble my phone on the train.
you probably were whatever game was in there when you left the house, you were probably just stuck with.
Oh,
There's
for sure.
that was it. That was your game for the day.
Oh, do you have any more crazy game for the days that you want to talk about in terms of failures?
I
I
don't
think
think
this caps it off.
yeah,
We
I
just
don't think
ranted about
anything
the
can beat that one.
yeah. The
And I'm
taco phone is up there for me.
even just visually, like it's the most bizarre looking thing out of any like even the Virtual Boy. It's like okay, I can see what you're going for there, but this is just I
We
like
have to get our hands on one of these and like try playing some games on this. The
tried. Oh, well,
screen looks so small too.
yeah, apparently you need like duct tape though in order to like keep it upright without you having to like keep your head tilted forward at all times.
Oh, is this the
So
Virtual Boy you're talking about now?
yeah,
Oh, duct tape. What? For a strap?
yeah, or else it like weighs too much. Like it's too much pressure on your like neck.
Oh my god.
So I'm not trying to I'm not trying to like get physically injured
Scoliosis.
for a gag. But the N gauge is definitely also the best name of anything
It is a
here.
clever name. I'll give him that. I'll give
Such
him that.
such a early to mid 2000s like
Very very
gimmicky
edge,
name.
techno edge.
Yeah, anything like it's that was such a like let's throw a hyphen in here unnecessarily like period of
It's not
time.
even a hyphen on. It's a dot on the actual device.
Oh, on the device itself.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
well,
promoted it at E3. Lamau.
and
Oh my god, that's so funny.
they were gonna the N-Gage 2.0 was in development.
Another feature that the speaker and microphone were located on the side edge of the phone. Oh yeah, the taco phone or side
Mhm.
talking. Or simply that they had one very large ear because the user held the edge of the phone against the cheek in order to talk into it. Usual for a phone, but unusual for a game system. It had a screen taller than it was wide. So it had a phone screen. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Did you
That's
see
why I'm
they
saying, like, it seems better, like it's a better phone
did you
than
see
a
they made
gaming
a
system.
second one?
Yeah, I just said
The
that.
not
The
the
two
2.0, the QD.
the QD.
Yeah, this one looks even more like bulky. Oh, this one fixed it. You didn't
Yeah,
have
this
to
one has a
change
larger
change the
screen.
battery.
Yeah, that seems like a major like
That seems huge.
development error.
Oh my god. But yeah, folks, as you can see, we could go on for days about sad failed product attempts. There are also tons of sad failed software attempts. That's happened until this day. I feel like the next big one is going to be Ubisoft's Skull and Bones, which, like, once again was delayed. But, we could go on about this for days, but I think we're going to have to call it at that. Wouldn't you say, Lucas?
Yeah,
It's hard to
I
top
think
the
it's
taco phone.
yeah. I don't think anything is gonna blow our minds as much as learning about that piece of hardware.
Oh my lord. All right, well, with that, I think we'll just call it right there, man. Any last words you want to say?
Any last
Are
words?
you ready for another week? Are you ready to lose in your fantasy?
I don't know if I could handle a lot of fantasy losses after the week I just had. I think,
I think you might lose in both leagues this week, not going to lie.
well, yeah, it's always nice to get swept in fantasy football, but we'll see. It's only 105 at the time of this recording. Many games have not started, and the ones that have are just beginning. So there's still hope for everyone out there. Hopefully we get some dubs. Hopefully I am not doing schoolwork the entire week, and I can actually play some games. I had major Elden Ring withdrawal, and that was unpleasant. I think God of War New Game Plus is not going to happen. I think I'm just going to axe that.
Wow, to play more bad game Elden Ring?
What are you talking about?
Wow. Wow. Interesting call. You know what? You
Well,
could just be like,
I cannot justify playing God of War like for the fourth time through.
I mean, I've been telling you this for ages and many times on this podcast that it's weird that you repeatedly play the same like four games over and over and
That
over.
was well, the first time was on yours, and then I beat it again on yours, where I was like actually paying attention to like resource allocation and management and leveling and all this stuff. And then I got it down to like the perfect like formula, and then I just executed it on mine.
You know what's gonna strike you as surprising, but also probably not? I'm like debating when to buy Sonic Frontiers because it comes out the same day as Ragnarok, and part of me is like, man, I should just crank Sonic Frontiers before God of War.
I mean, you could, but then you're not going to have enough of Ragnarok played in time for the Game Awards.
Oh, that's a very good point.
Unless you think Sonic Frontiers is also going to contend for stuff, then I guess you have to divide your time between both.
I could see a Game of the Year nom for Sonic Frontiers. I
Yeah,
could see
no,
it
but
happening.
nom, but you're betting on who's going to win.
Yeah, definitely Sonic Frontiers.
No, okay. No, I think bad game Elden Ring is gonna take the crown.
That game is so old; it's like not even worth playing anymore.
I don't. I initially I thought this was like just a joking shtick, and now I'm not so sure. I think you might be serious.
Bad game, old game.
All
You know
right,
what I'm
you know what?
saying?
People of Game Chat, let Tom know whether or not his take is viable. I
It's
think
not.
that's
You listen, man. Listen, you should just be like me and download golf games on every system you have and only play golf games because that's all I've been doing and it's been great. It hasn't helped my actual golf game, but it's been
well,
great.
yeah. I would think there's we're not gonna correlate.
You never know.
That's like, oh yeah, I've been playing a lot of 2K, but my jumper still isn't falling. Like you're not getting any practice.
It's helping me learn the game, I guess.
I mean, in terms of learning the rules of golf, yeah, I'm sure that you're knowledgeable about the game itself, but you got to be able to execute.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Not
Well,
there yet. Went golfing in the rain yesterday. Didn't go well.
yeah, that doesn't sound like a good time. All right, well, maybe for next time we can update the people on if I have made any more progress in Elden Ring and if you have knocked a couple strokes off your golf game. We'll
Have you
see.
seen that Rick and Morty episode with the Meeseeks?
Yes.
That's all I could think about yesterday. Choke up, Jerry! Straighten your back!
Yeah, you got to follow
Keep
through.
your shoulders square!
And then, of course, the short game is also important.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Short games. I'm a bit of a stickler, Meeseeks. How's your short game? Oh man. All right. And with that, folks, we're just gonna call it right there. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Game Chat, Tom Lucas. And then
Oh, we have a Twitter, everybody.
we've got our Twitter
We got
back.
our Twitter back because the old one was discontinued, very much like Google Stadia.
Yes, exactly. Don't know what happened to that, but we'll get that back up and running very shortly. But yeah, check us out, follow us. Please subscribe on YouTube. That would be great. We see people who are watching this podcast but aren't subscribed. You know, why are you doing that? Like, you could just press the button, get notified if you click the little bell when our new stuff comes. Now that Lucas has had his father help him organize a better internet situation, we'll be able to play more games and do more video content. So check us out on YouTube. Big things coming. Big things coming.
Season 3, we're right in the middle of it, right at the peak. We got another interview dropping, for next time. So definitely keep it locked. And yeah, maybe we will, now that I have a functioning internet, do some live streams and gaming if school permits.
Facts.
But we'll
Facts.
see.
Took long enough for you to start another degree. You
Yeah.
bastard. All right, folks. See you next time.
Bye.